So hi, welcome to Good Noise Podcast. We're here with Ollie from Broadside. We're going to ask him some questions today. I'm going to start. What inspired you to start the band, and what does the band name mean?
So Broadside, this is the most boring story. All right. So I'm almost positive, if I can remember, that it was like we liked the aesthetic of just one word bands. We were like, oh, that's so cool. And we're not attractive or cool enough to be a band that has the before it, because I always like those two. Like we would be the average band, I think, is what we would end up being. But anyways, so what happened was we were like, let's stick with the aesthetic of just the one word. And I think we all just put in a bunch of names in a hat and picked one, and we here, baby.
All right.
Wow.
Awesome.
Very boring.
All right. I mean, it's cool, though.
It's cool. We haven't heard that one yet, so
Yeah.
that's cool. So, congrats on your newest album release, Into the
Thank
Raging
you.
Sea. How do you feel about the response to the singles and the response to the album to the selected people you've sent it to, I guess?
Yeah, so I think it was exciting to put it out. I'm excited to put it out to our fans and the people that have been with us for so long, because I just feel like they're going to see the growth and potential, or just like the growth from the last records, I would say, and just be like, okay, cool. And I feel like we can really lock in that trust that we've built with them, saying like, oh, cool, I like this band because, I at least like the art that they're putting out. And I feel like that's almost the duty and due diligence of a musician and a band, is to say, like, here's what I'm offering, and it's fan service, essentially. But at the same time, saying like, oh, you guys have trusted me, and I trust you back. So boom, boom, boom. So I'm a rambler. I'm sorry about that. But
Oh, no, it's okay.
basically, with album reviews, we've gone to bigger outlets, because we just signed to a new label, and so we never had the opportunity to have reviews by these bigger outlets, huge magazines and that sort of thing. And now I'm talking to these really important people on the phone, and they're like, they're not under the ruse of like, oh, cool, like, I know your band, we're on the same level. They're like, oh, I talk to famous bands and you're just kind of like bottom tier, but we see potential in you.
Yeah.
So they're interviewing us. So like we're in a new playing field. So it's exciting, but at the same time, I'm just like, oh shit, like this might be the first time that like we get a true, honest review on the album. They're like, oh, this is, which is exciting for me, but it's the type of thing, when you watch movies about like older bands from the 80s and stuff like that, and you see things where they're like reading the news and like, the numbers are up, boss, the album's doing well, except Rolling Stone gave you a 2 out of 7 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It almost feels like that. If music still sold today, that's what it would feel like right now. That's the equivalent. So I'm talking to these important people, but at the same time knowing the people that have been with us for all this time are going to love the record. But now I'm like talking to like 36-year-olds that are like, your record sucks, but I have to talk to you today. Not really, but in theory.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So you talked a little bit about the growth. How do you feel about the growth from like your debut to now?
I feel okay. So I feel powerful yet vulnerable. Hear that? Vulnerable. I feel powerful yet vulnerable, in the sense of power. To me, I've always wanted to come from growth from within, not, it would be super awesome to drive a Tesla and live in a mansion, right? But that's not reality. So for me, it's always been, I want to find something from within and overcome it and feel good about myself. That's like my life goal, on top of, if I could drive a Tesla, sure. But so I feel like that is what the growth is in the record to me. I'm writing about honest scenarios, things that I've learned from just growing in this scene and reflecting it back to the world. And to me, that is chef's kiss art. That is like, okay, like I see something, I'm reflecting it. A lot of artists go through the struggle of, oh, I should just tell my story 100%. And it's like, that's valid and true, but it's like looking into a mirror. Whereas if you paint from, or if paint write, sing, whatever, any sort of self-expression, and you do it from a form of reflecting on something that anyone could understand, I feel like that's really unlocking some Michelangelo type, you know, some next level art stuff. So again, I'm so out of my mind. So if I'm rambling, you guys just say, hey, get back on topic.
No, you're all good. You're all good.
Thanks. Yeah.
So where was your headspace while writing Into the Raging Sea?
So we had just, not just, it had been a year or two after we put out our last album. And, you know, I had just moved to LA when we were writing the second album, and I was feeling so like, oh, I'm going to be a cool, tanned, skinned, successful music writer now. And I got there and it was like, bro, no, you don't belong here. You're broke. And I'm like, oh, no. And it was a really nice, crushing vacation for me for the 3 years that I lived there. So anyways, what came out of that album was, I think, a bit of ego, the second one. And then the other half of it was our band was deteriorating. Members had quit. Myself and the two other guys that were in the band at the time, we all had these different visions of what we wanted to do. I was blind by my surroundings. I just wanted to be important, you know, in Los Angeles and still stick to myself. Luckily, I didn't get like, you know, addicted to cocaine and the stuff like you see in the movies where like,
that's good.
I had a dream, dude. No, that never happened. I think I kind of got self-absorbed because it seemed like that's what you're supposed to do out there. But anyways, I digress. So I think you can hear that in the record. It feels like three different personalities clashing. And there's like Tufts, there's like a heavier side, there's like this like ukulele, I wanna Bruno Mars get married song, and then like, you know, whatever the hell else happened on the album. But as much as I value the album, I feel like now, after switching labels, I've had, you know, a fair share of like let's say raw opportunities to learn in the past years. And you know, I've left LA and I've been able to kind of just educate myself on what I do and don't want out of this whole music thing. So there's this quote, but the idea is basically, the highest form of human intelligence is to pull yourself out and to stare at yourself as a piece to the bigger retrospective world. So the idea is, if you can pull out and say, oh, you should make this move as opposed to this move, that is intelligence to me. So I kind of started practicing the idea shortly after all these terrible things started happening to me post Paradise, not even just stuff to do with the band, just a lot of misfortune or unfortunate events. But I started to think, okay, this is awful, but if I can sort of circumnavigate where I want to go to next, it's at least a landing point. And so much stuff happened between the second record to now 16 days away from this record that it's starting to kind of click in my brain, like, oh, I kind of circumnavigated this and anchored myself to just in case. You know what I'm saying? It's like imagine if the Titanic never sank and it only spun in circles. It's like if somebody was jumping off and they anchored to the bottom, they could at least have an opportunity to resurface every time it spins. That's a stretch.
It makes sense. Yeah, I get it.
Like, I feel like I'm like giving like the world's worst TED talk.
Oh no.
When I was 7.
Oh my God, imagine.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process and how it's grown since like that first release to now?
Yeah, for sure. So I was saying with the first 2 records, I felt the need to share my own life and write from that. And in many ways, it did well by us. You know, I'm a big romantic, so I managed to write a few good love songs, and they hit with people because I think that they realized they were genuine, which in itself is rewarding to know that people still care about genuine feeling. But my writing process these days is working with others as opposed to just focusing on how I can make the best or coolest lyrics or sound, you know, whatever. So so it's more to me how the record sounds, and that's the most exciting thing about this record is we have huge. Sorry, my puppy's going wild these days.
It's okay.
So it's about how it sounds and how it feels, because I was raised on just tons of different types of music, but R&B has always been huge in my life. And to me, the first reason I fell in love with R&B is because it was the first time I heard the voice being used like an instrument, right? With like the runs, and then just the it's like laced in there. It's like woven in there like a beautiful blanket. And I remember that's kind of how I learned to sing, was just singing to the radio, like Boyz II Men and all this stuff in the 90s and late 90s. But anyways, so with this record, we focused on how does the voice sound and what would the production value, basically, just like what makes this really feel nice. Like I reference R&B only because the idea wasn't, the focus isn't like this needs to be like opera. This needs to be like the Frozen theme song. It's not like that. It's more like, what can we do with the voice to make it flow as beautiful with the music, so it all feels like a beautiful play, as opposed to like you ever listen to a band and the singer's just like ripping it and the band is just okay, and you're just like, if this guy could play in this, it's like I don't want to be that, you know what I'm saying?
That, yeah.
So the writing for this record in particular was very organic and natural. The drummer Jeff and I, we just sat in my apartment, and we sat through the winter, like 2 months, and just wrote an album. And most of the stuff that you heard in that is what made the record. There wasn't 80 million voices, producers, engineers, like putting in all their 2 cents. It was really just kind of organically seeing what we could create. So that was a really nice, and the kind of story you hear about from bandmates, as opposed to like, oh, I sent this song to them via email, and then 9 days later when they decided to text a group back, it's very it's like all in-house now. And so that's the biggest difference.
That's cool. Yeah.
Sick. All right. So what made you choose the name Into the Raging Sea?
Oh yeah, we're about to get artsy. I hope you're okay with that.
Oh yes, always.
So the idea is that the character, the wanderer that we have on the cover, they are just kind of searching this vast, raging sea, but ultimately the perspective is to be above. So though you're lost at some point in your life, or being taken under, drowned, perhaps lungs collapse from the weight of trying to make decisions or whatever, what have you, what metaphor you can tie that to, the raging sea, you rise above it and you're still able to walk through it. So it either makes you the master of your own decisions in your own life, or it makes you basically constantly battling and trying to stay against the current. So the concept is you can let this raging sea drown you, or you can learn to swim. So that's kind of how I was feeling at the time. There's a couple songs. So as cool as that sounds, with the album, you would think it's going to be like, this is going to be a serious concept album. And at times it has that kind of energy, but there's still some geeky love songs all over the record. So no matter how many books I read to feel that I am the most thespian, at the end of the day, I still am like, just watch a quirky little love movie and eat some popcorn. Yeah. So, but I think that's part of the navigating the mind as well, is seeing that other people can unlock the best potential in you. And that sometimes just means a little fling, or it could just be a good friend, And so in that essence of it, that's how I keep it from being like, this is my really cool album with a really cool song title, but the songs, there's some love songs in there. But so that's kind of the idea, is that it's got this intense sort of discovery of the mind. And I don't know, I'm kind of like a child still. So I love the idea of the story, the idea of this kind of like comic like character, walking the ocean in search of, I don't know, complacency or himself, or just pieces of himself, or simply just to prove that he can walk against the current. I kind of like the idea of like, what'll happen, So
Yeah.
All right.
Wait, I actually have a question. Wait,
Yeah.
so does the Wanderer represent you or the listener? Or is it just a character on its own?
that's the thing. It's like it doesn't feel like me for the first time.
Okay.
So I'm almost curious if it's who I imagine listening. You know, sometimes you, in a conversation, you can say things and you can't control how the person is consuming it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe that's kind of what the Wanderer feels like to me, is a reflection of the person that you're writing whatever to, right? I mean, the idea is that the human language was created just to warn others about stuff. That's the only reason we learned how to speak, was to say, hey, there's an alligator up the river. You know, we didn't learn how to speak to say, I am happy right now. We learned how to speak to communicate. And so I think maybe it is in a sense a bit like, this is the listener.
Mm-hmm.
It'd probably be way more simple to just say that. Yeah, it's the listener.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah. That's cool.
So what band influences do you hear on the new album, if any?
Yeah. We're all influenced by similar stuff, but vastly different at the same time. I'm like, we all have our like, yeah, we all agree this is the circle of bands we wish we were. Like, you know, 1975, Bring Me the Horizon, Linkin Park is, believe it or not, like just these kind of like big, but like it's like you'd imagine them playing to a big audience, but it still feels very personal when you listen to it in headphones.
Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of bands, without being like too whack or corny. There's no like Maroon 5 vibe or anything like that. No disrespect, but you know, some people, sometimes it's like those types of bands, they feel like they're just created so they'll be immediately successful. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe the pop element to it, but so we want to be this like big anthemic music where it's like driving and it feels like, whoa, this sounds so incredible. I can't wait to hear that live. And then lyrically, it's like a storyboard story arc that you can follow and relate to without even thinking that deep into it. It's just very surface level stuff. Sorry, what was the question? What are we influenced? Bands influence. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'd say big bands like that, like anthemic, but yet still you can still tell there's a soul there. Like when you listen to Bring Me, you're like, this is huge, no doubt, but it's got soul to it. 1975, okay, this has soul to it. You know, like even if you don't really like it, you're like, oh, there's energy there. On top of trying to bounce in our influences, like I do a lot of stuttery stuff, a lot of like melody runs that I just find from listening to R&B and like some of my musical icons like The Weeknd and stuff like that, Frank Ocean. But I think the coolest thing about this album is that we just kind of like wrote songs and they were just like, oh, these might be good. I don't know. We didn't think like, oh, is this as good as Coffee Talk or is this as good as like something else? This is the first time that it's ever been just like, I mean, what have we got to lose? Let's just write some songs. And that's why there's so many weird layers in there. It's like imagine if you bit into banana bread and it had like marshmallows in it. You'd be like, this is weird, but like it's still kind of fire.
Yeah. Bro, I might have to try that. I know it was just I might have to try that. Okay. So what song took the longest to write off of the album?
What song took the longest to write? The best ones, in my opinion, are always the quickest. So I'm trying to remember which song took the longest. So there's a song called Clarity on the album. And it's like a ballad that leads into this kind of ultimate hurrah at the end. That's like almost like, listen to any like pop country song and then it kind of gets kind of big at the end. You're like, there it is, man. I feel good. If you were like a yeehaw guy, but imagine if you were like, you know, us. So it kind of has that kind of simple, and then it's like big at the very end. But it took the longest. The lyrical content on it was like really difficult for me, and I know there's some stuff that I guess the internet might call it trauma, but like there's some stuff that when you review it in your head, it plays like a movie, and you're like, I don't want to watch this fucking movie right now. Sorry, am I allowed to curse right now?
Oh
or-
yeah.
Oh, cool. I've been trying to be good boy the whole time, but
No, man.
all right, cool. So I'm like, I don't want to watch this fucking movie right now. And so, it's basically just like a ballad of saying like, man, like I'm getting older than the people who listen to my band. And you know how when you're younger and you always think like, I get that I'm depressed, or I get that I'm different, or I get that like different in the sense of how society makes you feel, and you feel like, man, I must be an outcast, but you always kind of project into the future and say like, oh well, when you get, because of our parents and stuff, or icons, you're like, when I get older it'll go away, it'll like wash, right, like the wave will recede back and take all this childlike trauma and pain and depression with it, and that's not the case. And so the lyrical content is almost like a walk with myself and other people struggling with this. And the idea is saying like, what's wrong with me? Like, what's wrong with me? I'm begging for my clarity. Like it feels like everyone else my age or people my age are supposed to have this grasp on life, and how we're supposed to be so used to duct taping all the pieces back together that now we're just like, yeah, it's ugly, but it's mine. But it doesn't feel like that, and the pressure is just saying like, I've gotten this far in my life. If you're religious or not, if you're spiritual, if you practice any sort of form of organized anything, it's calling out to that, saying, look, I'm feeling this way. I'm this point in my life. What the fuck is wrong with me? And I think I didn't want to get into that headspace until right before we had to leave, because then I'd be able to reward myself, like going to Disneyland or something, something like that. It's like oh, hey, like don't live in this space. Yeah. And I think that, amongst a few other things, has really taught me to be comfortable saying like, oh, I don't want to think about that right now. And that probably took that. I think that took a long time to unlock myself, because sometimes I love to bear that burden and just say like, all right, I'm going to just be depressed for like 6 days. And so I've been able to kind of tame that back, maybe 2 days, 4 days vacation, 2 days.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
No-cation. Let's call it that.
No-cation. That's a good one.
So is there a certain feeling you want the listeners to have while listening through the album in full?
It's a good question. I think, okay, all right. So how, okay, so this is a little bit like godlike complex here, but the beginning of Up, when they're like the best love scene, right? And they fall in love, and then, R.I.P. And then you're like, damn, that really hit me. And what the hell is this movie about? Because this pain is deep. I kind of want not that feeling from people, but the follow along, and then that moment of like, how does that make me feel immediately? So it'd be really sick to listen to the songs and be like, let me just have this moment of seeing, how did that make me feel? And I think that is what would make me feel like I'm doing my job and that I've done my job.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool.
Right. So how did you choose the openers and closers for the album? And when you wrote those songs, did you write them specifically to do that, or did it just happen?
So it's funny because the song we just put out, or the second single that we put out, is called The Raging Sea. That was supposed to be the very last hurrah at the end of the album. Like, people were going to get through this album and it was going to be like, yo, they're mad, they're crazy, Broadside went off. And then we're us, Broadside, Jesus, with our label owner, he said, what if he's a LA guy, so he's like, yeah, what if we put it at the beginning? What if we put this song at the beginning of the album? And I was like, just take them there immediately. Like, you just get in the car and then they just hit the gas, 150 miles per hour. And it was kind of like, I mean, yeah. And I'm like, you know what? We made it here, baby. Let's do it. So that's what's funny, is like all the tracks are in that order. Like, okay, cool. This flows, beauty. And then it was supposed to end with this big wow. But now it just ends with the, okay, that felt all right. And then immediately Like
Kicks you in the
walking
face.
into a bar and getting punched in the eye. It's weird.
Yeah.
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 Okay. So since shows can't be played right now, how do you guys plan
Yeah.
on like connecting with the fans during this time?
So we've been able to. The internet is so awesome.
Yeah.
Most of the
Yeah.
time because we've just been able to just. I forget that we're in quarantine sometimes when it comes to just talking to my stupid ass friends. You know what I'm saying? Like I say that with all the love, but like whether they force me to play video games with them or we just Zoom like this, which came out of nowhere. Talk about great timing. You know, or just FaceTime each other randomly. The funniest thing about this is that everybody's sleep time has slipped because some people lost their job, yada yada. So like Dom would be texting me at like 3 a.m, and I'm like, dude, I'm definitely not awake. So what?
Yeah.
Or you know, like I'd be up at like 7 a.m, and they're like, what the hell? And then I won't get a text back till like 1 in the afternoon. I'm like, damn. But so yeah, we've been doing that a lot, and we're a while back. I snuck down there, and we were able to like record these videos that we just didn't know what to do with. And then so we're gonna start. Well, we've already released the last one last Friday, but every Friday we're releasing them on our YouTube channel, and it's just Dom and myself on this cool college campus we found in Florida, and yeah, it's beautiful there, and we recorded 3 songs, and we're going to release them every Friday on our YouTube channel. So just stuff like that, and we just put out a bracelet with this company that does like recycled symbols, and they like this like they engraved the Wanderer on them, and we're partnering up with the Trevor Project, and yeah, just giving back in that way. 100% of proceeds are going to that. So we're just trying to keep a level head because we know it's super weird to be promoting an album on the internet right now. To just say, listen to my songs. It's also strange to think like next time we go play a show, we're going to have an entire album of songs I've never played live before. So it's going to be like in those movies, they're like, what you want to hear? And somebody's like, Madonna. That's what it's kind of going to be like, because we're going to have to know, well, not Madonna, but like, 12, 13 songs that we've just never played and can't really practice because, that who should not be named COVID-19.
Yeah.
So there's no like live stream shows on the horizon to like promote the album, nothing like that.
Yeah, I think we're going to try to do some sort of live. I think that's what the real bands are doing. So I think that we should definitely do that. We can't keep subtweeting K-pop groups and then just talking to each other on the internet. We should probably play some music.
That works too.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a good. I'm gonna take that into consideration. I'm gonna text these guys right now.
Oh my god, sick.
Work canceled. No, I'm just kidding.
The day has finally come.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So, the last couple shows that you played were with Sum 41. How did that happen, and what was that experience like?
So, apparently Sum 41 was looking for a real hip pop punk, younger hip pop punk band, I guess. And they heard about Broadside through the grapevine, and one of them said, oh yeah, I remember them at Warped Tour. That might have been a lie. I don't know. I don't care. I'll take it.
Yeah.
But then, they reached out. They reached out to. I'm super stoked on that part, but it doesn't end. It doesn't end with a. And that was it. It ends with a. Yeah, and then they reached out to our manager and were like, "Hey, is that cool pop punk band want to go on tour with Sum 41?" And we were like, "Yeah, dude, you can just pay us in toenail clippings if you want. That's fine."
That's foul.
So we did that tour, and it was so bizarre because we're playing to like our dad's age type crowd, like the best part of our night every night was going to the merch table, and like drunk moms and dads coming up to us and saying, "Keep on keeping on, you guys are gonna make it one day." And we're like,
whoa,
we have 2 albums out. I know it's fine. But in my head, I didn't want to be disrespectful, so I was just like, "Thank you, man. That means the world." Carry on, brother.
We have 2 albums out, working on a 3rd,
Yeah, that's not a big deal. I've been around the world. It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
We'll make it one day. So when you guys were able to play shows, what were your top 3 songs to perform live?
Wait, so when we're able to again, or when we were playing?
When you were playing
When you were.
shows, yeah.
So laps around a picture frame always goes off. It's got another good progression throughout the song. Starts slow, goes big, and it just has that. You put that in the set at the right time, right when you have the people. When they're just like, all right, I got my drink from the bar, or all right, this sweaty body next to me is done dripping on me. I'm gonna calm down. The energy's out, and they're just like here, and so. That song's a good one to play live. Let's see. Coffee Talk is always good. I mean, I've been playing it for just years now. People still go off. And the best thing about it is that people are still like, yeah, hey, I haven't heard the rest of your stuff, but I heard Coffee Talk. So, I mean, look, if that's my legacy, I'll learn to die with that one day. But as of right now, it's good enough. And then, let's see, another song. Man, I'm so trash at this.
No.
Most guys are like, I love talking about my band, and I'm like, let's talk about the universe. Let's see. No, I'm kidding. Third song, I think Summer Stained. Our song Summer Stained would be another good one. It's just got that. It's got the same energy that the song Clarity that's on the album you'll hear has that sort of vibe where it's this sort of folky kind of singer songwriter vibe, and it turns into this like, this is the serious part now. Listen to me. Music is so corny sometimes.
Just a little.
But yeah, so Summer Stain, Laps Around a Picture Frame, and Coffee Talk, I think, are the songs that definitely, those are our, look, we walk in a room, there's 400 people here, 399 hate us. After we play one of those songs, chances are 312 might hate us. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like an investment.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Sick. So where do you see the band in the next 5 years?
Hopefully you guys have made it by then.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll do this till I'm 50, man. This is about my dream.
Yeah.
No. In 5 years. Okay, so with this record, I can't stress this enough. I don't know how we got here, but we got here. So I really need this record to kind of identify us as a band that's going to stick around, like a band that people feel like, oh wow, they're doing this, and it reignited whatever interest I had in them or didn't have in them years ago. So if this record can start to show musicians, the cool bands, and like the people, the non-believers, let's say, the muggles, to start believing in what we can do as musicians. And I think our perseverance alone, I mean, we've been through so much shit, like, just the energy that I think that our band was giving off at one point, I think it was all wrong. I think that we didn't really consider what we were putting out into the world, and now the test of time has shown me like, well, I am an artist, and for whatever reason I was given this talent, so I should probably utilize that to my full advantage. And I mean, it would be a disservice to anyone, I think, that has any sort of creativity in them not to fully explore that, at least. So, and I think now the best way to learn is to just walk through it, walk through the fire, walk through the raging sea. And at the other end of it, you come out and you say, I have a lot of shit to think about and a lot of things to reflect on. And I think that, our band has this really cool sort of like crazy timeline going right now. And it hasn't just been, I mean, I'm such an anxious person, but if it was only like this, I'd be so terrified that any moment it's just going to, so like this, and let's say we're here now, it feels nice to at least turn around and see the places that we've been. So I'm hoping that this record does that for us, establishes us as a real band, and, shows us that like, oh, damn, cool. You guys put in a little bit of work and we're ready to cool. Bigger bands are willing to take us on tour. And I hope that the whole image of the band is really clear. And that's just like, fight the good fight and make good music. And that's really what I want to stand for, So I think maybe it took a little bit to get there, but. Okay. So in 5 years, I'm trying to drive a Tesla, really.
Yeah. Hey, go.
So for the last couple of questions, we're going to shift away from music, and we're going to go straight to Death Row. So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be, and with a drink?
Oh, okay. You asked the right motherfucker. All right, so my last meal would be extra large, extra spicy, vegetable lo mein,
Ooh.
2 fresh spring rolls, sriracha on the side, chili on the side, like the chili paste, and soy sauce, and a little bit. You know, you don't want to go out all super salty.
Exactly.
Boom, right there. It's got my fresh rolls, got my vegetable lo mein. I want 1 very large blue raspberry Gatorade.
Ooh.
I want a cup of a cup size of sweet tea. All right, and then a little bit of water to wash that down. Okay. All right, so we clear that, and then my dessert.
Okay.
Oh,
I get 2 desserts.
Yeah, okay.
2
all right.
desserts. Because I'm about to, this is it.
Exactly, it's it. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go freaky one, and then I'm going to go classic one. All right,
right.
so let's start with the freaky one, because I just discovered this in my life. Bananas Foster, y'all ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what is this? What is this?
Mhm.
Okay, so that. Anything Banana Foster related, I'll take it. You know, whether that means, I don't know, whatever it is. Martha Stewart can make it or some shit.
Yeah, exactly.
That, okay. And then my other dessert, just a chocolate chip cookie.
Oh my god. Solid. Okay. Wait, do you like crunchy chocolate chip cookies or soft ones?
I guess it depends. What's the setting? Am I on like a camping trip and they're like, yeah, we got some chocolate chip cookies? Or
I mean, it's wherever you want to be. If you want to be on a camping trip for your last meal, go for it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, exactly. Because they'd ask me that and then I'd have to answer.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go like mid-tier, like the top is a little crunchy, but the rest is super like a Subway cookie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
solid.
Kind of flat, but it's like been sitting there for a couple hours. You know?
Yeah. Understand.
They could do that for me, then I'd be a happy last meal.
All right.
Sounds good. So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
Hogsmeade. That's where I'd be hanging out. Not Hogwarts. Not. I'd be chilling in Hogsmeade. Just selling nickels that I found on the ground or something. Like, yo, I found this. You want it? I'd be like just a real gritty Hogsmeade straggler. Just hey kids, you want to buy a penny I found on the ground? Of course, it wouldn't be a penny, you know. That's the muggle in me showing, but yeah, it's embarrassing, dude. I'm a super Harry Potter dork, but that's where I would hang out.
Wait, what Harry Potter house are you in? I have an idea, but like, what house?
What is it?
Hufflepuff?
Come on.
Or Ravenclaw?
No, Ravenclaw. Yeah. Hufflepuff though. Right. Wait, is that a microphone? Oh, this is a microphone. That alien face that you're talking into?
This?
That, yes.
Yeah, that's
it's like the Matrix.
It's a microphone.
Yeah.
I'm not very observant. Sorry.
No, it's okay. She's
talking into the alien face. Where's in a different
you're talking
dimension.
into? Yeah, that's Wally's girlfriend. That's Eve.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No. Oh my god. Oh, that's so sad.
So I have the honor of asking the last question, and everyone we've spoken to, this is the most important question. What is your favorite color?
My favorite color?
Yeah.
My favorite color is a deep ocean blue. It's an almost hint of green, but it's like so dark that it comes off in the right light. It'll come off matte or a little slick.
Oh. All right.
But that's the beauty of it. But it has a little bit of like a deep green to it. My downstairs wall is like a lighter version of that, but
Solid.
So as I said, that's all the questions we have for you today. Is there anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, the album comes out in 16 days, July 24th, Into the Raging Sea, available everywhere, even on the internet. Wow. Very crazy
all over
times.
the internet.
Oh my
God. All over it. Yeah, and I think I think that's the most important thing, and probably just follow us on the internet. We recently got verified on Twitter.
Congrats.
It took 7 years, so we're moving.
Mhm.
We're moving now. It's getting real serious around here. So.
So thank you for sitting down with us. This has been Ollie from Broadside, and we're the Good Noise Podcast.